Welcome to episode 6 of At Your Command, the series where we don't just talk about Neville Goddard's teachings, we bring them to life so they become undeniable. By now, you understand that your assumptions create reality. You know that you cannot serve two masters. You must fully commit to a new state and let go of the old. But there's one thing that holds most people back from stepping into their new reality. They are carrying the past. They are holding on to old stories, old beliefs, and old identities that keep them stuck. Because if you do not forgive, you do not move forward. It's that simple. Imagine trying to walk through life with a rope tied to a massive boulder. Every step you take, you're dragging this thing behind you, exhausting yourself. And yet, most people do exactly this, carrying old pain, resentment, and guilt, wondering why their new reality isn't showing up. You cannot enter a new state while clinging to the past. Neville puts it simply, forgiveness is not looking at another and saying, I forgive you. No, true forgiveness is the ability to see the other person as you now see yourself, no longer tied to the past. This means forgiveness is not about the other person at all. It's about releasing the old assumptions that have kept you trapped. If you believe you were betrayed, you are carrying the assumption that you are someone who can be betrayed. If you believe someone wronged you, you are assuming that you are still tied to that moment. If you believe you have regrets, you are still living from the past version of yourself that made those choices. And if you are still tied to the past, you cannot fully embody a new reality. Forgiveness is the severing of those ties. It is the great reset button. A man once came to Neville deeply hurt by his business partner. The partner had deceived him, stolen money, and left him in financial ruin. He told Neville, I cannot move on. I feel angry every time I think about it. Neville asked him, are you angry at your partner or at the version of yourself that allowed it to happen? The man was silent. Neville continued, you are holding onto the assumption that you are a man who has been betrayed. And as long as you hold that assumption, you will continue to experience it. You must forgive, not your partner, but yourself. The man was confused. How do I do that? Neville said, you must see yourself as the man who has never been betrayed, who has never been deceived. You must assume that reality so fully that you no longer even recognize the version of yourself that was hurt. The man went home and began practicing this. He stopped seeing himself as a victim and started embodying the version of himself who was powerful, respected, and financially free. Within months, his entire business turned around. Unexpected opportunities arose. He attracted new partners who treated him with integrity. Why? Because he had finally let go of the version of himself that had been wronged. Most people carry grudges, regrets, and pain without realizing they are reinforcing the state they want to leave. Neville says, you must die to one state before you can live to another. If you refuse to let go of the anger, the pain, or the regret, you are keeping yourself tied to that version of reality. Forgiveness is not about morality. It is not about fairness. It is about your own freedom. Because the moment you let go, you are free to assume something new. So how do you actually forgive? How do you release the past so it no longer controls you? Step 1. Identify the story you are still holding on to. Is there someone you still blame? A past mistake that still defines you? A version of yourself that you still carry guilt for? Recognize it. Step 2. See it for what it is, an old assumption. That version of you is dead unless you continue to feed it. You are not that person anymore. Release the need to relive it. Step 3. Revise the story in your mind. Imagine it differently. Instead of betrayal, see yourself as someone who was always protected. Instead of regret, see yourself as someone who always made the right choices. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim, see yourself as powerful, untouchable, immune to misfortune. Step 4. Move forward as the new you. Speak, act, and think only from the new assumption. Do not justify the past. Do not explain the past. Leave it behind entirely. This is the real meaning of let the dead bury the dead. The past version of you is dead. Do not dig it up. Here's something to think about. If you woke up tomorrow with complete amnesia, no memory of who hurt you, no memory of what mistakes you made, no memory of who you believed yourself to be, what kind of person would you become? What kind of life would you create? That is what true forgiveness does. It wipes the slate clean so you can step into the highest version of yourself without the weight of the past. Forgiveness is not just about letting go of the past. It is about claiming a new future. So here's what I want you to take away from this episode. Forgiveness is not about others. It is about freeing yourself. Holding on to pain keeps you stuck in an old reality. To assume a new state, you must release the past. The moment you let go, you are free to step into your power. In the next episode, we take this even deeper. Because once you free yourself from the past, you must also learn how to claim what is already yours. Neville reveals that the prodigal son is not a parable about sin. It is a story about reclaiming your birthright. And in episode 7, we will break down the prodigal son, claiming your inheritance, and why everything you desire is already waiting for you to return to it. Want to go deeper? More resources are linked in the bio, because you are free the moment you decide to be. The only question is, are you ready to let go?